Madam President, I rise today to once again express my extreme disbelief and disappointment that the United States Senate will vote to confirm Dr. Robert M. Califf to yet again lead the Food and Drug Administration. My opposition is nothing new. In fact, it was exactly 5 years ago, next week, that I came to the Senate floor to urge my colleagues to oppose Dr. Califf's nomination to serve under then-President Obama in this same role. In the 5 years since Dr. Califf was confirmed, more than 400,000 Americans and 5,000 West Virginians have died from drug-related overdose. And 2020 was the deadliest year on record for drug-related overdoses. 1,386 West Virginians and nearly 95,000 Americans died from a drug-related overdose. That number is just increasing, with over 100,000 Americans having died from overdose between April 2020 and April 2021. Let's not beat around the bush. Dr. Califf bears a great deal of responsibility for these deaths. We have a luxury with this nomination that we are not usually granted, because Dr. Califf was already served as the FDA Commissioner. We have insight into how he will lead the agency. Dr. Califf's previous tenure, drug-related overdoses went up. 5 years later, they're up again, and this time at record numbers. In fact, despite his pledge to overhaul the FDA's policy during his tenure and immediately following it, the FDA approved 5 new opiates for market. And at that same time, they removed only 1. The wise Dr. Maya Angelou famously said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them." Well, Dr. Califf has shown us who he is, and he has shown a complete lack of interest in actually making the difficult decisions that we need the leader of the FDA to make. Nothing that Dr. Califf has said or done has led me to believe he will operate the FDA any differently than he did during his previous tenure. As if this is not enough, reports have circulated that Dr. Califf intends to keep Dr. Janet Woodcock on board as a senior advisor at the FDA if confirmed. Dr. Woodcock bears more responsibility for the opioid epidemic in our country than any other person at the FDA because of her oversight role and the approval of every single one of the opiates that went on to ravish communities like ours in West Virginia. She was in charge in 1995 when the FDA approved OxyContin, what we know now to be the tip of the spear of the opiate epidemic. In 2014, she ignored the advice of the FDA Advisory Committee that voted overwhelmingly, by a vote of 11-2, against approving Zohydro. She decided to approve Zohydro anyways, at a time when we needed less opiates, not more. Zohydro is a questionable pure hydrocodone drug with a strong risk of overdose and death. Experts estimated that just 2 pure pills can kill an individual. The pharmaceutical industry has greatly benefited from the status quo that people like Dr. Califf and Dr. Woodcock have established at the FDA. In fact, Dr. Califf himself joined the board of directors for a pharmaceutical company immediately following his tenure as the FDA. He prospered financially in that position as thousands more died of overdoses. Due to the continued negligence of the FDA, more than 400,000 Americans have died since Dr. Califf first served. Among those Americans was Lauren Cole from Morgantown. Her father, Michael Cole, graciously allowed me to share Lauren's story with all of you. Lauren was the definition of the girl next door, a person who is approachable, dependable, and everyone saw her as their best friend. She was also a fierce competitor with a strong will to be the best. The little girl that became a competitive athlete was swimming at 2, she was tumbling at 3, and she was skiing at age 4. In college, she represented West Virginia University at the National Cheerleaders Association Collegiate Cheer Nationals 2 years in a row. Everything Lauren did looked effortless. After completing her bachelor's degree in social work, she worked with foster care and recovering addicts while pursuing her master's degree in social work. She had a true helper's heart. This life story sounds like a girl who had it all, a girl that was happy and content. She was beautiful, smart, funny, athletic, well-liked by her friends, and loved deeply by her family. She appeared to not have a care in the world. But Lauren had been facing an epic battle since she was 16. One evening, she experimented with prescription opiates with her boyfriend and a few friends. She did not plan to be an addict. Lauren said once that she thought it was recreational, like marijuana. She was embarrassed and fought this disease alone for 2 years while maintaining good grades, excelling in sports, and taking college courses while in high school. She kept this secret from her family, her teachers, her coaches, and her friends. Towards the end of her first semester of college, she had to swallow her pride and ask her parents for help. They immediately sent her to a prestigious rehab facility and committed to helping her recover. They were willing to try every option available to them. Lauren was in it for the long haul. She had a lot to live for. She was constantly making good choices about what she wanted her life to be. After all, she was working on her master's degree in social work and knew that she could make a difference in the world. On July 5, 2020, after a 10-year battle with substance use disorder, Lauren learned that her gym workout partner had tested positive for COVID-19. This meant that Lauren had to self-quarantine until she could be tested. She could not work, she could not go to the gym, she could not volunteer, and she could not even visit her family and friends. She contacted her dad and asked him to find a COVID test as soon as possible. Unfortunately, there were none to be found until that Thursday, July 9th. Her dad, Michael, texted and called Lauren all morning and mid-afternoon that day, but could not reach her. He left work to go to her apartment to tell her that he had located COVID test. When he pulled into the parking lot, he saw her slumped over in her car. He immediately called 911. He rushed over and pulled her out of the car. He tried to resuscitate her, but it was too late. Lauren had a slip-up that took away her chance to live up to her full potential. It was a sunny afternoon on July 9, 2020, when she died of a fentanyl poisoning at the age of 26. Fentanyl, which is another approved opiate under the FDA. She was alone in her car, hiding from the stigma of addiction. Her ability to recover was stolen from her. Approximately 3 weeks before Lauren relapsed, she came home to talk to her dad. She said, "Dad, there are so many people suffering from addiction that need and want help, but they just don't have the resources or a family like mine to get it. Do you think that when you retire, we can do something to help them?" Her parents took that wish to heart and have created Lauren's Wish, an organization working to establish long-term women's residential substance use disorder treatment facility in West Virginia. Lauren may no longer be with us, but her story will continue to inspire action and change in West Virginia and across our nation. Dr. Califf's nomination is an insult to Lauren's memory and to the millions of families who have lost a loved one at the hands of this epidemic. And I cannot for the life of me understand why this administration is so committed to asking each of us in the Senate to reconfirm a person who had the opportunity to make a difference, but show us who he really was. Do not expect a different outcome if he is given another opportunity to lead the FDA. That won't happen. I will vote no on Dr. Califf's nomination, and I have never been more profoundly confident of a vote I'm going to cast than I am right now. I strongly urge my colleagues to examine the devastation the opiate epidemic had wreaked on your home state and your loved ones and those who you know and those of your constituents, and the lives that lost and all the families that are left heartbroken. And join me in voting against Dr. Califf's confirmation to serve the commissioner of the FDA and send a message to this administration, to our president, that we need a new direction at the FDA. We need people who want to protect us, not people who allow drugs to destroy us. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.
Oh, here, sorry. Yield the floor.